I gotta leave Friday to go down to Alabama.
Alabama.
Mobile,
Alabama.
The Haleyville area.
we did it.
I've only ever been to Mobile, and that was for a Travis Tritt concert.
We on. It's on. Let's get everything set up. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're a little short-handed tonight. Everybody is out plowing snow. We got the Michigan area right now is currently getting hammer jammed with snow falling profusely. What's good, guys?
Plowing your mom. What are the others?
Oh, lordy. Pop out. We got it. Power stroke. Zekester. What up?
What's up?
What up? Caleb Lee, Alabama. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Good evening to you all. Ford Boss Me is at work. would you look at that? Excuse me. He's going to be joining us. He's got a particular issue with a vehicle that is in his possession, and we're going to go over that tonight and kind of again go over the diag of it. And I want to extend to anybody out there who's again got problems with their Power Stroke. We're going to try to help you out tonight. I kind of liked how everybody was chiming in last week, the week before that actually. So that was pretty cool. Repping a new shirt from the wife. Appreciate you. Love you. Although I do not love the smell of it on my uniform, my costume, and I got to wear it all day. Golly gee, man. It is what it is. But, yeah. From the UP, eh? From the UP, eh? About to hit us in Pittsburgh. Okay. Wavy. I see. What else we got? What's up with the other side of the hood's not being painted? Brother, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I'm plowing tonight, but no snow here. Anyone ever experienced a metallic tinging, pinging sound from the passenger side of the engine bay? All hardware and shields tight.
It's the DEF injector.
Yeah, that could be it. Freddie, totally. Oh, he's got his truck scheduled. Brian, what up? Skidoo. Hey, Rod, I need help. Ooh, listen to this. Listen to Little Dill Pickle. This guy's talking 6.7 excursion tremor. Okay, we're gonna start talking about that right now. Okay, so the short I made today, or was it today? Yeah, today. I actually made a video a couple of days ago, so it was kind of a I'll psych you guys out, but I actually did make a video. It really got me thinking, how cool would it be? I don't know what the reason why Ford got rid of it to begin with. That I don't know. I don't know who to talk to find that out. But it would be totally doable to bring back the excursion body. I think there's a large following, kind of like the Bronco, kind of like just Super Duty in general. If you go to the comments and look at the short, there was at least, I'd say 5 or 6 dudes that said that their wives are driving 150,000, 200,000, 300,000 mile 01, 02, 73 excursion. That's freaking awesome. They need to bring that back with a 6.7 power plant. Don't tell me it wouldn't fit. I mean, they probably have to do some adjustments, but that would be bad. Man, how cool would that be?
That'd be pretty damn cool.
Appreciate the view. Got 6.7. I appreciate you, John.
You know, somebody asked me a question the other day that they didn't understand. It was said, Rich, I understand people like the 3.5 EcoBoost and all that, but why didn't they ever put the 5-liter in like an Expedition? Why didn't they do that? That would have been a phenomenal power plant, and a lot of people would have bought that way more than
That's
the
a good
EcoBoost.
point. That's a good point. I can't
I'm
say
sure
that I
it
thought about
all
that.
has to do about emissions.
GVW.
As always.
Let me turn this on here.
Also had another question as well that it didn't make sense to me. The guy was like, I just bought a 22 Maverick. It's been running great. I really love this little truck. And he said, why is my temperature, my coolant temperature, always between 177 and 182? It never seems like it gets up to full operating temperature. And I said, hold on a second. Let me jump on PTS real quick, pull up a 22 Maverick, 2-liter. And it says start thermostat opening, like 176 to 181, fully operating temperature 206, or full operating temperature 206. And he said, dude, my Maverick never gets to full operating temperature. And I noticed my fuel mileage has dropped like crazy. So there's like some weird stuff going on with some of these newer vehicles on what's like expected and not flagging like lights or anything like that. That's all I said for sure. Go ahead.
I've got one right now that the engine gets hot, but you can grab all the coolant hoses and it never gets hot.
Yeah.
Like it's technically overheating, and then it set an overheating code, and the coolant lines are cold.
Well, that's the same way with that CP that 3-liter Explorer that they had, where it would say that it was overheating and it would throw an error message on the dash, but then there's actually nothing wrong with it. It's that little wiring harness down in the
this you could put your hand on the cylinder head or a gun, and it shows its legit temperature of what the CHT is reading.
Wow.
But the coolant hoses were not cold, not hot at all. So
What was that guy's name with the 3.0?
Ryan, he's in there.
Oh, is that him?
Yep.
Oh, okay. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? Way up there, eh? Yeah, 6.7 Excursion. This guy says D-by 4x4 Bronc says he wants a particular year, 2016 Excursion. Okay. Eddie's got a good question here. How many years old? Rich, this is a good one for you too. How many years old? 5 years, 10 years? Do customers stop bringing the vehicle to the dealer for service? That's a good question. So when I see a truck come in, I look at engine and I automatically but use engine to decipher my year. I mean, we still have 6.0s coming in, and that was from 07. You know, not really getting 7.3s in. We do, but not like the amount of 6.7s. But I don't know.
That's because they're all rusted out and in junkyards.
That is very well.
Because I've seen a lot of 7.3s at the dealer, but I'm also in Florida, so
yeah, that's not fair.
I mean, you've seen the bottom of my truck. There's cleaner trucks than that down here.
Tommy Saunders, first time watching. Thanks, buddy, for coming through. Shout out from Kentucky. 300K on my 0173. Bought a 2026 7. Love it. Hey, what do you have? What trim level? What's your configuration? You know the one that I have. Did you get one of them King Ranches? Cody, we're popsicles here. Ford Bossme's rolling in the town. He's got his
I just took the Mustang Uniroyal Tiger Paws off, and I put the Blizzaks on with the what do you call it, the the ultimate rims instead of the signature ones that I had on here. And then I took the tune out of the car, put the 87 octane tune back in, and I bumped up my shift line pressure 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4 back to 15%. And then I reset my rear axle ratio to 373. And now this is the first time that it's going back outside with close to stock with minor mods. We're gonna go try out the Blizzaks, see how much better they are than the Tiger Paws. Let's find out right now.
One of my buddies in Texas, I know he might be listening tonight. Appreciate you, Jason.
Oh wow!
We're getting firsthand. How many miles on the town car?
238, 741.
They're asking. Dang. That old girl pulling.
She moves pretty good with the 373 gear set.
Ooh, wee! Like we on cops. Bad boys, what you want?
Copyright strike.
Oh man, I was singing. Come on.
You think they'll make it through the snow back here? I get stuck.
Come on. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that speedometer. Oh yeah. Driving like a cop too. Yeah, that's what's up. He's hammering down, fellas. What up, guys? What up, Nathan?
Yeah, these Blizzaks are pretty tight.
They look like they were doing its job.
Yeah, they're definitely way more responsive than the Tiger Paw Uniroyals. Okay, thanks, Nathan. Nathan's the one that sold them to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why won't those come out?
Yeah, he took them off. His were like practically brand new on his town car. And there was like a situation where on his town car, his town car was actually pretty nice. But when they ran it on the computer, they actually found out the real miles on it. It had 530 or 540,000 miles on his car when he got rid of it. And it was I think a livery car or something like that. He had nice rims on it, and tires and stuff, and he pulled them off and he said, "Hey, do you want these? I'll give them to you for a good price." And he sold them to me like $400, and they were like brand new Blizzaks.
I like Blizzaks.
Nice and tight.
Oh, easy. What the hell door did you go out of?
That was the main service door to come in.
Oh.
But anyway, Nathan got rid of his because his started making a tapping sound from underneath the vehicle, and it sounded like a rod knock, but it almost sounded like a flex plate as well. It snapped. But then when he sent it off, the transmission bell housing bolts had like rotted and I think something with the trans bell housing actually partially snapped around. So it was time for the car to go anyway with 500 and some thousand miles on it.
Dang.
And he sold me some of the good stuff. Got the headliner out of it, rims and tires off of it. Oh yeah, she was slinging.
Man, we getting spammed tonight.
Really?
We getting spammed by these freaking Russians.
This has got some kind of disaster prevention kit on this one right here.
Ooh, let's see it. Check it out.
One of the fuel lines are rubbing down on the middle of the motor the way it was installed. So we're going to end up needing a new line because it's leaking fuel.
I wonder if it's one of the Gen 1 kits.
Let's see what we got.
Let me just tell you right now, when we look at it, there's nothing. So let's just leave it at that and not say any more about it.
I'm watching them comments. I ain't even gonna have it.
Because, you know, as soon as I show the motor, people are going to know.
It's not why we're here.
Well, I'm just putting it out now. Yes, what you see is what you see, but we don't need to talk about it.
We're not in that area.
Just go by the degas bottle.
Let's see if I can turn this around real quick. Let me see if I can get something to stand on. Something to do with a fuel line rubbing. Let me get something to stand on. This thing is nasty too, man. Nasty. You're going to see my homemade crate. Y'all going to be jealous.
Ooh, look at that.
But
I like the milk crate.
I took some of that mud flap pad from a semi and I cut it down and then put 150-pound zip ties all the way around to hold it so it don't slip when you're standing on it, and it holds the bottom together so it doesn't bow.
Nice.
Little anti-skip pad or anti-slide pad, you know, got to be inventive.
Michael Lum asked a good question. Is there a calibration for climate control system actuators?
Yes,
Yes.
there is. And it may not specifically be just a calibration. It may be the fact that you need to go into the computer and run it through a self-test so it can actually check itself. And that could be enough calibration right there. Okay.
Buddy Eli asks Ford Boss Me if he has a dedicated trans guy.
Yeah, right here. He sits over here in this hole. Just got done putting this. What is this, a diesel? We just had to do the transmission in here. It's shot.
Bummer.
I think this one's brand new.
These are really poor right here. I hate to say it. Good little maneuverability van, but it's just the serviceability for removing the transmission, having to do anything with the engine and dropping the subframe. Not good. Not good.
I think I'm going to have to get like my headlight or something because.
What kind? Go behind the degas bottle. Let me see if it's got anything hanging on the cowl.
It's one of the old kits because it's got compression fitting on it. It's one of the old kits that get cut off. Or it's a copy of one of S&S's old kits.
I would have to, let me get my headlight. The guy earlier, he had like the tube and everything off and he was looking down in there and he blew some debris from the center of the motor off. And he said, you can look and see where that disaster prevention kit of whoever makes it is rubbing down there and it's got light fuel coming out of it.
Yeah, that was a problem with the first gen ones. You had to be careful where you hooked it up at.
Interesting.
Put my Super Pro robot lights on and get back up there.
Yeah, those vans are €2 for sure.
And they don't do worth the damn in the snow at all. They were like all down the highway and they couldn't even get traction. All right. So he was saying something about down
there on the pump.
Yeah, somewhere down by the pump. There's a line rubbing. I know there's a braided line that's rubbing that manifold right there.
That return line looks new.
And then it has, looks like one of those fuel lines right there is a little bit wet. You see.
Gosh, I love the zip ties. I see that braided line, yeah.
I don't know exactly. Oh, well, if you look down here too, The main line that has the crimp down there, the high pressure fitting, it's crimped. It's all wet, fuel and stuff at the connection where the elbow goes into the high pressure pump. It's
Wow.
wet right there too. And it says limit, no limit fabrication.
Ooh. So I wonder if that's a copy of SNS's and not an actual SNS.
Chinese one.
No limit fabrication with a black cap that goes on the top of the high pressure pump. And then it's got a braided fuel line that comes around right here into this big junction where that fuel line pressure sensor's at.
Yeah, the low compression fitting.
Yeah. And it goes right into there. And then the other line comes up and runs right next to it right here and goes into this fuel supply line right here.
The first gen is kind of, The second gen kit's where it's at.
I didn't see it mentioned in the winter vid, but when temps are in the negative, should I block my grill like other diesel trucks I see? You know, that's a really good question, and there are some like mixed feelings, I guess, about that in the Ford community regarding restricting airflow through the engine. I do see a lot of trucks, especially the big rigs. I don't really see the Duramaxes or Dodges rolling. Maybe like an old clapped out 12 valve, you know, with a bunch of cardboard hanging out the sides, like it's been eaten. I can't say I have seen a 6.7 with cardboard stuck, but I have seen, I would say at least two come in with winter grill covers, not from Ford, but they have had the snaps all over the grill and it was kind of like a canvasy material that, you know, was all over, all over the grill. So I don't know. I don't believe there's a part number or anything that Ford offers for us to install that on our trucks.
There's not.
I think it's kind of frowned upon, but needless to say, that would be something that would be on our Lumiduties or our 11 through 16 models. And currently, right now, what Rich is on an Lumiduty with a problem that is kind of unique. Nothing to do with the winter grill cover, but we were talking about recently with that harness he did that video on. He was live streaming the replacement of that harness loom. Again, that wasn't a Lumiduty. It seems like a lot of the trucks that we talk about are Lumiduties. A lot of guys have the Lumiduties out there. And this particular one, okay, you guys got to think when these trucks are built, they are making one harness that's going in the body. Okay, I'm not saying it's the same harness for a super cab or a regular cab. You know, if you had a crew cab with non-LED lights, you're still gonna have the circuits that the trucks with LED lights would have in your harness. They're just not being utilized. They loop back in and go back, you know, to wherever they go. So you guys that are having issues specifically with like aftermarket stuff, this what Rich is about to show you guys is something that is real important when we add stuff to our vehicles. We want to add lights, we want to get the job and get it done and have the truck look good, but there's a right way and a wrong way. And some of the things that we're seeing we really want to bring light to this so that you guys can help your landscaping community, or because all these work trucks, they're all like salt trucks, plow trucks, landscaping trucks, and it's to get the word out about what we're seeing with these. It's real important that you guys listen up, because I mean, this could be you guys.
Want me to take over?
Dude, show them where this is at. What do we got?
So
Tell them our victim.
this is let me just look real quick to make sure I didn't lie to you, Aaron, when I told you the year, because I'm pretty sure it's
19, what, 19?
it's 9. Let me open the hood. 19, it's got 19,659 miles. The reason it came in is because the customer said they lost control of the passenger side window functions, the lock functions. They lost control of the radio. It went offline. The HVAC controls went offline. When they would shut the vehicle off, the center stack would stay lit up. And it just seemed like there was something really, really wrong with the truck. So they dropped it off and they said, let's figure out what's going on. Well, the stuff that was off that we were losing function on was on the MS CAN network. Let's see. The damn sticker's gone from inside here too. Yeah, it's got to be 19 with 19. It's the RO ref. Oh no, it's a 20.
What?
Yeah, it's a 20 Super Duty with 19,659 miles. And this the same company. If you remember last time when Cody and Aaron was here, we were all here and we were all diagnosing this truck, and Cody and Aaron were just killing it with the wiring schematics and stuff, and go here, go here, go here. And then we ended up finding out our problem, and that's the HS3 network, which is dedicated to the inside of the vehicle and the gateway module. The gateway module just basically reports back to the body control module what's going on in that network, but there's no direct connection from the body control module over to HS3. That all goes through the gateway module, which is underneath the dash. We got that to all come back online and realized it was a double problem. There was too much resistance in the floor harness as well as the dash harness. If you guys didn't catch that video, I did a short video. Everything that we found out and diagnosed that night is exactly the problem. I gutted the interior, put the harnesses and stuff in, took the dash out, put the harness in, everything came back online, truck's running beautifully, no problems at all. It was indeed exactly as we diagnosed it that night. Now this one came in and I thought, oh my God, the truck's back. I see it down at the end of the stall and I'm like, what the hell did I do? And then I look at the lights. I look at the lights on the back of the truck and they're completely different lights. They're 3-piece lights. And I was like, oh, thank God that's not the one. I come over here and I'm talking to Rob. He's one of our senior techs. He's been in the field for like damn near 40 years. And he says, oh, man, I have a problem just like you had, except now it's the MS network. So we get into running a network test and we see there's a problem with the MS network. So we start looking at the connectors that are in line. And we come up here underneath the hood right here. In this area here, this is part of that harness that we replaced inside the cab for the last problem that we had with the same company, except we were on the harness side, this side. There's this connector here. There's this black connector here, which there's nothing that goes to it in this one. And then there's a main connector back here that goes into it. But you have MS that also runs through here to communicate. On this side of the harness, on the side going down the frame, we unplugged this connector right here and then went to pins 3 and 4 and 9 and 10, which are your violet and gray or your violet and orange and your gray and orange wires. And we ohmed out from the violet and gray on one side to violet and gray on the other, because theoretically from that connector down, you should be able to go to the back of the vehicle and get a complete circuit coming back up the vehicle with low to no resistance, right? So on the gray and orange wire, we got 1.1 ohms, which is fine. It's perfectly fine for you're going all the way down a truck and you're coming all the way back up. You're going to get some resistance there. It's not going to be perfect.
Right.
But on the violet and orange wire, we were getting between 36,000 ohms and 44,000 ohms jumping around. Well, wait a second here. This vehicle has MS network wires in it because it's built as if this would have been like it's a harness for something that would have had more options, except this truck doesn't have more options. So what do? They twist the wires on the other side of the connector and they send it back because there's no reason for anything to be on that network. Come back here to the back of the truck next to the spreader, passenger side of the frame horn, look inside these connectors.
It's got like an Isuzu NPR freaking light on.
Every single connector from the factory harness is just rotten and corroded back here.
Oh,
When
man.
they decided to not use the factory harness and plug their own stuff into part of the factory harness, they didn't seal anything up and they just left it all wide open. And I don't know if you can see inside there, but it is rotten. All the pins are corroded. It looks like powder inside there, cotton candy inside there. All the connectors on that side as well, all the same thing. And they could have at least done some preventative and sealed those connectors off, filled them full of, electric grease or silicone and just shut them down because they're never going to use these connectors again, but they left them wide open. The problem wasn't there though. The problem was in this big gray connector right here. What ends up happening is on this side of the harness, there's a twisted pair. You see the orange or the violet and purple and the gray and orange right here where my thumb's at. They basically come through that harness down. They come to the other side of the connector. They're twisted around and they're sent back up because there's no reason for anything to function here. Well, on the violet and orange wire on this side, when I unplugged this connector and I tested from one side of this little loop, which is only like 8 inches long, to the other, in the one wire alone, just in this one little section on this side of the connector, 60,000 ohms. But on the gray and orange, one or like 0.2, 0.3 ohms, because there's only one little loop right here. They just loop it over and send it back up the harness. So that violet and orange wire, because of the way they twisted it all up and bound it up and crimped the wire up and just wrapped it all up in the harness, there's a break in that wire on this side of the connector. And there was so much resistance in that wire that it was taking down the MS CAN network as if there was something shorted or some kind of problem somewhere, and it was messing with the stuff inside the cab of the truck. So what did I do? I went to the opposite side of the connector over here. I took the purple. If you're looking at this side right here, where it clips into that Christmas tree deal that goes into the frame, the second wire over is purple and orange, and then the fifth wire is purple and orange. I said, well, hell, those wires don't do anything anyway. They don't communicate with anything back here. There's just too much resistance, which is taking down the network. I'll go ahead and snip the wire here and snip the wire here, put them back together and send it back and eliminate all this resistance on this side of the connector. What happened? Everything came back online. The lights quit shorting out on the dash. All of a sudden, the windows started working. All the HVAC controls came back on. The radio came back on, all because of poor installation by somebody that did not care or was being rushed in what they were doing. And it did cause a problem. So this is it's all installation.
Look at this bundle of wiring you got. It's all zip tied together, just low points in it. Hot water's just going to sit in that little convolute. Just a recipe for disaster.
It's not that we're attacking the company themselves. It's what we're doing is we're talking about these situations to make people aware. You're working these trucks. These are your livelihood. You want to keep them on the road working. You don't want to down them. You don't want to be dumping more money than what you have to in it. Do it right.
Just get it done. Bring it to us.
Put it together correctly, and then you don't have to see us unless you like us.
Trim piece. Yeah, we are seeing our fair share of wiring too. It just seems like it's just getting more rampant. I don't know. It's not the time of year. It's not the kind of vehicle. I just don't know what the dealio is going on. I was able to make a video in the middle of production right now of a problem that we were talked about before, and even DS trucks and the kind of the same reason that Rich had to replace that harness on that truck. A lot of guys, are not paying attention with where their boots and passengers' feet, like where all this water's going. Like it's not just going to evaporate, and all that crusty salt that was on Rich's. So like These crews are out salting, doing their work, and all that is on their boots. It falls off, the water evaporates, and the salt stays, and it just is. It looks like um, a glaze from a glazed donut all over the harness. You can, just bend the harness and manipulate it, and you'll see it just break apart like it's been encrusted in this nasty. Ugh. So I know DS had actually went as far as in his 250. You'll have to go back to his channel and check it out. In his 250, he actually drilled holes in the sill and got some anti-corrosion, high temp. Um, we actually have it at work. It's a motorcraft part in a jar like this. We apply it with a little paintbrush. Rich, you know what I'm talking about. That black anti-corrosion stuff works really well.
Good stuff.
But I think there needs to be something done with that because we're seeing a lot of it. And it just sucks that all the CAN circuits run right through there. You got going to the RCM, they're coming from the BCM, going across to the driver's seat, passenger seat, going up the front to underneath the center console. We have longitudinal sensors, yaw rate sensors, everything down there in the center console. When we got to replace these harnesses, man, it is. Do you know what that costs? Just the price of the harness?
For the two that we did,
Yeah.
they were like $1,000 or like $1,100.
Man, there's no
And then with all-
way to
all
have
the
do auto repair work.
and stuff, man. I think we were at with everything out the door because of how extensive it was and what had to come out and the amount of stuff I had to repair that was done on their end with the wires and stuff in the back of the vehicle that they could have done a better job on. Well, think about it. You can pay a guy hourly. Say you're paying him $25 an hour to run your salt truck, or you got a guy at the shop that's doing this stuff or upfitting it for you. You give him a couple extra hours and don't rush him. You're out of pocket. What, $75 to $100 for good quality work? If he just can take his time and pay attention to what he's doing, or you can bring it to me, and I can run you $5,000 for wiring, harnesses, labor, and everything else, and redo your connectors in the back the right way because of a major problem that was caused. I mean, it's kind of. It's not that I want to talk trash to a company or I want to make them feel bad. It's just it's logic. It's reality. We're talking because we care about people, and if it was done right to begin with, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in.
It reminds me this one of our members here just asked, remember when you came for the meetup and we literally had 4 or 5 guys laying on the floor with you and we were pointing out those connectors that you're kind of talking about right here on the back of this truck? He just asked, is this a good thing where maybe I could, on a non-work truck, grease those connectors? Yes. All these connectors are all waterproof. I'm not saying waterproof. All are weatherproofed, and they all have gaskets and whatnot around the seals and the wires. But I think after seeing what we see, we need to add some electrical grease just to inhibit green corrosion. Is going to be started with water, and that's going to oxidize, and it's just going to be a snowball effect. But because we have those CAN circuits, when we have the CAN circuits back there going to the bliss, doesn't matter if you don't have bliss, those wires are still there. Just like when
There's
adding
a lot in that harness that's there, Aaron. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like even in the factory stuff, when I didn't even know until you and Cody was helping me. Like when I was looking through that circuit inside that truck, I was like, wait a second. These harnesses are literally built like if somebody in the future wanted to come in here with a defrost window, all the connectors are there. All the connectors are there for the sliding glass. Mm-hmm. Everything is there. It's a harness that they can literally slap in the truck. And if there's options to put on, the connectors are already there. If they're not, they get capped, and that's it. It's a universal harness for your mods all the way down to all your options to no options. And that's what this truck, it's a no option truck. So it's, I don't know.
It's a bugger going through the firewall. How you got to pull the dash, going through the A pillar for the door connectors. It was a lot of stuff. I had to do one, and it was unfortunate. I didn't pull the dash on mine, but I had another sister truck just like that. Wound up being, this was the customer's complaint. He said he'd come up to a light, and you know when you complete your stop in the truck, you come up to it, you're like, bang, and the truck, does its and sits down. He said the airbag light would come on. He said as soon as he took his foot off the brake, okay, so I'm thinking brake, the wire, why taking the foot off the brake? As soon as he took up the foot off the brake, airbag light went off. So I'm thinking, I don't know what what's going on. I couldn't get it to do it. It wouldn't come on. And then finally I was road testing it, and oh my God, it came on and it did exactly what he was talking about. I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I'm like, I'm just touching, I'm looking at the brake. Has nothing to do with the brake. You know what it was? There was water in the back of the connector where Hugh is talking about, the connectors that we're talking about, there's water in that connector, and it was sloshing in the connector. We'd hit the brakes and come to a stop. Boom. That water would just sit just right in that connector, and it would short out something on the MS can, and the airbag light would come on. What? So, as Rich and I were at the meetup talking about that, it was something we wanted to show you guys, and it's funny that Hugh was just talking about it because smear that grease in there. I'm not saying don't get it where you put it to connect it, and it's like no, squeeze some on the pins, and kind of smear it in with your thumb. Get the excess smear. You can just keep working grease in there, and then snap them together, and we're finding that that's a good remedy to inhibit this. And I'm doing it when Rich has probably done them. The tailgate recall, remember how we got to put the new switch in? You know how many connectors are right there? The connectors that we're adding to bypass that connector, that's getting dielectric grease, XG12, XG12, XG12. The ones on the right side getting XG12. Rich was showing the grease one of the times on the live stream back. XG12 is really good stuff. Really great electrical grease. Way better than using the dielectric caliper grease. This is actually electrical grease, so definitely good stuff. Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
This kind of goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about whenever, like you referenced and somebody else referenced at the meetup when I was laying underneath the back of the truck and we were all kind of standing at the back of that truck, and I was showing you guys it's critical on these working trucks to pay attention to these connectors in the rear of the vehicle. Yes, they're supposed to be weather pack connectors, but they cause some issues. Water and stuff does get in there. It will creep in there. Salt will creep up in those connectors. And I just had I felt bad. The guy had to come back 3 times before I found out what was going on with this tailgate. It was a 16 model. So it's not part of the tailgate issue. And I have a full video showing you guys what I had to go through because the lock mechanism, he's a firefighter and he uses his truck when he has to respond to a call. Sometimes he has to jump in his own personal vehicle and he has to get to a scene and get his equipment out of the back of the truck because he's like one of the higher end guys or whatever. And sometimes whenever he's not on call, they still need him and they'll call him in. And he would get out there and go to open the tailgate of his truck and he wouldn't be able to open the tailgate of the truck. It wouldn't unlock or anything. And then he's having a fight with the tonneau cover, trying to get it unlocked and broke the tonneau cover to get in there, breaking into the rear of the truck. And what it came down to was there was corrosion in those pins that I was showing you guys right on the frame as it was coming down. And it was causing issues with that locking mechanism in the tailgate. And so I cleared that out. Everything started working, but it would intermittently still not work. And then it was the pass-through connector that goes from the frame. And then there's a connector that goes up and then goes through the back of the truck in the pivot point of the tailgate. And then it goes through the tailgate. And then that pass-through connector, I was like, okay, so I've got more than one problem here. Not only was it the connector, it was all the stuff over the years that had been dropped on the back of that truck and the debris and stuff that was getting down in between the pivot point of the tailgate. It wasn't kept cleaned out and it was pinching the wires where the tailgate would pivot. So then I had to order a harness for it. So then it all came back online and then intermittently again, it would start acting up again. And I was like, what the hell do I have going on here? This is a multiple problem thing. The lock actuator in the tailgate had got moisture inside the plastic housing, and it was intermittently freezing up. So not only was I having connection problems, I also had water inside the actual tailgate connector, because whenever they sealed up with the Rhino liner or the spray-in liner, like the Line-X and stuff in the back, they did not put the plate on the back of the tailgate down correctly, and it was still really loose. Some of the screws were not bolted down all the way. So when I went to go pull them out, they literally just came right out. So there was no seal there, and water was getting back behind that plate, and it was getting down on top of the hardware and stuff in the tailgate. So it was a triple problem that it led from a connector to a harness because of how the truck's being worked and stuff all the time, and they weren't keeping the debris out of it, to wanting to have it protected in Line-X. But when the plate was put back on the back of the truck, it wasn't put back on properly. And then the plastic that sits over the back of the tailgate was lifted up and wasn't snapped back in all the way. So there was moisture and all kinds of stuff getting in there. And it was like, man, a lot of this stuff could have been prevented if somebody that listened to these types of live streams like Aaron puts on here, and we get us all here and we're powwowing and talking about all these things. Don't take that stuff for granted. Use it as a tool. Use it to save yourself money in your company and keep your trucks
This is
on the
free
road.
info. You're not paying us to diag your stuff. This is listen, check it out, save yourself a trip to a repair shop that ultimately might be wasting your time because they don't know.
Should you disconnect the battery to grease those connectors? The right answer would be yes. But have I done it without? Yes, I have as well. And it hasn't caused any concerns. But thank you for asking that, Zeekster. Yes, you should disconnect the battery, or you should make sure everything's at least powered off.
I was going to say, yeah, at least have the key off,
But I've never had a problem with just the key off, cleaning those connectors out and greasing them.
When I do the tailgate recall, I don't disconnect the battery. The key's off. I just disconnect the connectors and do one wire at a time, Yeah. But let's see, what's this guy up here? It said something. Let me scroll back up. My Putco light bar is causing all likes of trailer connected, disconnected, and tail lamp failure messages. I read something about putting a jumper on the module by the e-brake to keep the power to the... Interesting. Did that just start, Brandon Powerstroke, or is this trailer lights? Would that fix it? I'm sorry, I saw you had posted something. Vince says Sean at DS has so much salt in his truck. Hope he's doing something kind of preventative. Actually, something that DS has done last year. So when he got the in-bed rubber mat, it was actually really clever. So what he did was, when he puts his salt dog in, he pulls that rubber bed mat, that's the length of the bed, all the way out over the bumper, and has probably got it hanging off the ground, I don't know, maybe 2.5 inches. So it's like one big flap, and then he pulls that thing in, not out of season. I was like, man, that's a really good another use, I guess, if you're gonna have not gonna have your tailgate on because you got that big salt dog in it. But using that as a flap, Super Duty salt flap, I thought it was a pretty good idea. But yeah, definitely got to be preventive when you're dousing all that salt out, and especially when you're going to get filled. Those guys in those buckets aren't getting all the salt, and then you got salt all over your bed rails and down between the salt bucket and the sides of the insides of your bed. Just a mess. Just a mess.
So some of you guys have seen some of my recent videos, and some of you get a kick out of it. Let's start a fight in 20 seconds or less on automotive YouTube. A lot of people get a kick out of that, but you guys have to understand those are more for fun than anything. I don't ever want you guys to watch one of my videos and think that you need to feel inferior because one of us that do this professionally are talking down to you. It's fun. That's all. And what what Carson is referencing here is put those batteries on the concrete floor. Results will shock you. Let's fight.
Yeah, I see that.
Well, what he's referencing is it's a complete wives' tale. A lot of people think that because there's rebar, there's metal grating or something in concrete, by setting a battery down on top of it, it's going to dissipate the battery voltage. I've literally left batteries on concrete for months, and not a single problem has ever happened to it. Mythbusters and other scientific engineering channels have already done and busted these myths a long time ago. It's an old wives' tale. It doesn't really happen like people say it does. And there's going to be some guy from like 1970 that did it with some lead acid battery or something back then, and swears to God that it happened to him. So it's got to happen to everybody else.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's a wives' tale. It doesn't actually, it's not true.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. I'm going to remove for good the bed on my 22 F450 is any adapter harness for aftermarket lights on the rear. Is there any? Through Ford, no. But if you go to Cody, what are we looking at? Body QVC something? Isn't there a QVC quality vehicle manufacturer modifiers that some people can look at for builders? Like if you're adding, dumps and like
There's the bodybuilder site.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you can go to something like that, and they may have an adapter to hook up to the Ford harness to leave you ends for lights if you're going to be putting some weird saucer frisbee light thing. I don't know, but they would have
Bodybuilders, the bodybuilder sites in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. He's on it. What is with this spam tonight? These guys are killing. Sherwood Haunton, every flushing. How often is everyone flushing their brake fluid? I actually have a guy coming in that wants his brake fluid flushed. We have a really nice machine at work. I have never used it. I saw one of my coworkers using it, and it looked like it was pretty legit. He was using it on a Transit. This is going to be a 14 Super Duty that I'm going to be doing it on. I think he's got like 100,000 miles on it. He's coming up from South Carolina, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of maintenance to it, and that's one of the things he's requested. So I might be doing a video on that because it's going to be kind of interesting. Ford Boss Me had been talking about that in some earlier videos. What do we do with brake fluid? Do we use OEM brake fluid? Do we even do anything to our brake fluid? So we're going to kind of go over that because it is kind of important as the vehicle gets older. Just like a diesel fuel, what is brake fluid? They are hygroscopic, and they want to take on moisture over time. That can happen and reduce the I guess, I don't know, what's water going to do? Just boiling point, not boiling point, just is going to reduce the effectiveness of the brake fluid. It's supposed to be just
It
brake
reduces
fluid.
it. You're right. It does. It does. They say the
I can't
more
think of
moisture
the correct term I want to use.
No, you said it though. The more moisture that's in there, the more it reduces the boiling point of it, and it's not as effective when you're under hard braking pressure, and literally you could just lose braking effect, and all of a sudden the pedal just right to the floor because it's boiling.
This guy said he just brought up a good thing. Some of those ABS systems need a flush too. That is correct. Sometimes we need an actual scan tool. Again, I'm going to say it as I do every live stream. If you guys have a Super Duty, you need to be using ForScan. Whether it's another Ford vehicle, sometimes we need to use the scan tool to actuate the ABS pump, the motor, the HCU, so that we can flush the brake fluid out of there. Or if we've had a complete system open, we'd have to do that with the scan tool as well. So that was a good point, Chris Dehan. Appreciate that. Rots out the lines and the rubber lines and seals. Yeah.
Didn't Brandon just bring up the recommendation by Ford on saying that it was like Ford recommends every 3 years? Remember, that's a recommendation. That is not set in stone. So a lot of the recommendations are for people that are pristine with their vehicles and stuff like that. They want to try to maximize and get everything out of it. Years ago, they said it was better to flush the brake fluid every 2 years because they started seeing all the fluid or the moisture buildup and stuff in it. And there's even some other manufacturers that are really, really, really on top of that stuff. Like, I think it's like Mercedes or something like that says they actually want their systems done every year because they see how critical that fluid is in getting maintained all the time. And I don't agree with Ford's recommendation on saying every 3 years. I think a good rule of thumb is every 2 years or sooner. I try to tell people all the time, especially if you're living in an area that gets it's raining a lot. There's a lot of snow and stuff. You're driving the vehicle, you're utilizing it a lot. I would try to do it 2 years or sooner. I don't like a lot of the recommendations that come from the factory because I find they're not relevant to most of us that are in our vehicles in a severe duty situation all the time.
Mm-hmm. Here's another good one. This is not really for brakes, but speaking of the flushing and the cleaning, oh wow, is that his trans bench?
So this is all his different trans tools, like clutch alignment shafts, different presses for different types of springs and stuff he's got to utilize, different seal drivers of all different shapes, different adapters for different trans bell housings and stuff like that. Test lines and stuff that he uses whenever he's trying to clean things out instead of running through a customer's line and getting them all gunked up. A lot of times he'll actually pull the lines off of a vehicle and put a set that he already has cleaned out that he can clean over and over again. Instead of dirtying up a customer's lines, he'll put his own on, flush the trans and stuff out, and then he'll pull the lines back off, make sure the customers are clean, and then put them back on. So this guy's very meticulous when he does things. And he's got different spring presses and stuff here. He's got bulk trans fluid and stuff for the older stuff if he needs it. He's got all his trans tools and stuff here on the wall.
Good deal. Good deal.
So this guy is very, very, very meticulous when he does things. And it's just, he's so slammed with trans work right now. He hasn't been able to organize over the last few months because other dealers are bringing their trans work here because some of them have lost their trans guys to either retiring or going to fleet work or something like that.
Definitely don't want to mess up the trans guy's bench because he might be a little mad.
And now we're pulling another trans guy in that's been in the field for about 12 or 13 years, a little younger, 31, 32 years old. They see a lot of promise in him. They don't want to take me away from the drivability stuff, the brand new stuff, the diagnosing, the electrical issues and stuff. They want to leave me in that area because that's where I'm the most powerful. But they want to take one of the other guys that's more into the mechanical aspect of it. And they've been letting him actually come down here with the trans guy and learn and train and stuff like that. And he's already a senior master tech, but they want another young guy to come in when he's ready to retire in the next 5 to 7 years. So we already have somebody up to speed that's working on these transmissions that has been working with one of the senior guys for a while.
Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. This is something I don't know a lot about. Rich may know more about AGM batteries.
Yeah.
You put them in Super Duties at all? I haven't. Vince here from Georgia's asking a question, and I don't really know how to respond.
I've never put ATM batteries in a Super Duty because there's no start-stop. I don't have that in any of them. I don't have any kind of, and any of the ones that have high electrical loads, typically they're running dual alternators or something anyway. I think there's just pretty standard with the Ford 5-year max 750 or 850 batteries, and that's all I've ever seen in them. I've never run AGM batteries in them.
Yeah, I agree.
Walmart specials.
Yeah. Well, look at the Project Farm. Project Farm took those Walmart batteries and did all that extensive testing under freezing temperature, regular operating stuff. And he found those actual Walmart batteries held up to the industry standard, if not surpassed in some instances.
Wow.
That's all I've ran in my 7.3 is the Walmart batteries.
Awesome. That's awesome.
They're cheap. There's no reason to go spend big money on batteries.
What is it, Cody? 4 manufacturers of batteries, and they just slap different labels on them or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had one of the battery guys here pull up in his big truck, and he had all these different makes on one truck, and I was like, wait a second, you deliver those batteries for everybody? And he was like, yeah, dude, who do you think makes all these? It's the same like 5 companies that make all these different batteries.
Joke's on you. Joke's on you. Dude up here in the, and I want, it looks like the propane. I sell propane. The guy says, to be or not to be. I have an 06 350 250K. Not blown up. He says it's bone stock. He says, do I bulletproof it or do I not bulletproof it?
I think you do.
At 250K, I'm almost gonna bet you got oil leaking from somewhere. Okay, whether it's gonna be the bed plate, you got rear crank seal leaking. It may be bone stock, but I mean, at this point in its life, you gotta be having something leaking. Am I right? I think I hear you saying, yeah, okay, yeah, I got a little oil leak. Okay, we know you got an oil leak. Okay, so if you're gonna do that, you might as well pull the cab, pull the engine out, do a complete reseal. I'm not saying go crazy and put these big parts on it, but do a complete reseal. And if you want to put, studs on it, you don't need to get no big dog heads or, man, come on.
We had a F450 or something like that 6.0 come in here recently, and the guy said he had like 280,000 miles on this truck, and he was like, man, this truck had everything that I've ever needed on it, and I don't want to take all this money and buy a brand new truck if I already have this truck with the dump bed. It's got the plow and everything. It wasn't all rotted out because he treated it right all the time. But he said, is there anything that I can do to really keep this truck on the road, because I love the 6.0 and I've never had problems with it. Just leaks and that's it. So our diesel guy down there said, you know what I would do? I'd throw an ARP stud kit in it and I'd reseal everything. Just do a basic reseal and let me get it all freshened up for you. I don't know what number 2 is, Aaron.
No, that's number 2. Yeah. A reseal, ARPs. Yeah. That's like the top ones right there.
And he
upgrade the dummy plugs and standpipes if they haven't been done.
And that's what he did. He did all the basic stuff that you would do right there in his stall. And I think he was done in like a day and a half, 2 days.
That's awesome.
He just real nice and easy went through it, resealed everything. The guy's been running the truck and he said, dude, this truck runs freaking great. But he said,
that's awesome.
Now all of a sudden I've got smoke coming out from underneath the hood. Well, with it running so good and the truck really functioning and them pushing it harder than they did before, because now they know they've got all this new, fresh, heavy duty stuff in there. They were pushing it kind of hard. And what ended up happening is that upper oil pressure sensor, oil blew through the connector. And he had to go in and it was just a simple fix. But that guy said, after you guys did just the basic reseal and went through the upper end of the motor, cleaned everything and studded it, he's like, man, this freaking truck runs like it's brand new, man.
That's awesome. Nothing's better than having a customer like that. I remember back in the day, having 6.0s come in, having these problems and whatever. You put it back together, you drive that thing out, drive it out because it probably was towed in, drive it out, and I mean you're good to go. It's a good feeling, sense of accomplishment. I'm sure Rich can appreciate that, especially if you're doing a huge job. It's something I've had to get over. Actually, it was one of my wife's, not one of my wife's, it was one of my wife's ideas was to bring home my logbooks. And ever since I started on my own, I'm on my 5th book now, and I keep a log of everything I do. I write down the date, I write down the RO number, what year the truck was, the truck, F-250, Econoline, whatever. Briefly, 2-3 words of what I did to the truck, something that would jog my memory. How much I was paid, or how much I'm supposed to be paid, and just the employee number of the advisor. This is something I've done for over 16 years. it has worked out for me very well because, for instance, I'll be thinking of something like, man, I've done this before on this truck, and I remember the side of the truck. I remember the name. You know what? Let me go look in my book, and I'm go back. I'm like, think of a point in time. Be like, was it before that or after? What time of year was it? Was it snowing? Ah, you know what? Boom! I found it right here. And you know what? I put a little star next to it because I knew one day I was going to have to remember. Now I can go back into the computer, reference this repair order, and find out what I did on that. Find out what parts I used. Find out my story. Help something jog my memory. Oh, and now I can find the wiring problem that I have on the truck that I'm working on right now. Like I just eliminated all this diagnosis time because I was able to jog my memory, find what I was working on back on 12/17 of '08. I worked on an F-250. Look at this. I didn't even plan for this to happen. We were talking about 6.0 studded. I did on 12/18/08 an F-250. I did head gaskets. I wrote down the part number 6051, 26.2 hours. And then I didn't turn anything in for 3 days. So I worked on this for 3 days. So that's pretty funny that that's where I turned in this book. It was something that I was frequented very often, and going back even farther in time, something that I had to get over. And I'm sure Rich is, we're beyond this now, but it's something that we had to learn. I'm sure Cody too. Man, when I was on my own, and I mean, when I first got on my own and you did your first engine, I had my first 6.0 tore apart, cab off, everything gazillion pieces, and you put this thing back together. And I'm like, man, I got such bad anxiety right now. I'm like, oh my God, I'm filling up the coolant. I'm like, oh my God, my freaking stomach is killing me right now. Oh my God. Like, I'm just, guy next to me is like, man, what the hell is going on with you? I'm like, man, I feel, would you just start the goddamn I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm so fucking tick, 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 tick. I'm like, oh, whew, man, I just got to charge the batteries. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I got more time. Procrastinating, just trying to go around like pussyfooting around. Like, would you just start the damn truck? And now I've gotten to the point where, for one, I have confidence in myself. I did not have confidence in myself back then. But when I think back now, the feeling that would overcome me of about to turn the key, I'm like, I just saw the pistons of this truck come, and then it starts up, and it's just like, ah, like that is the worst feeling for somebody who's a novice. I mean, so, to care about your job, and then you're gonna have to take this thing all back apart and what you just did to get to this point.
It happened to the diesel guy down there. He got done with a 6.0 with doing the studs and everything like that, and everything went perfect. It was clean. And as many years as he's been doing it, he still feels that way. And he went to go crank it up, and it was, and all of a sudden it started getting, it started all the air coming out of it, and it had a little tap. And he was like, "No, what the?" And it was one of the lifters. One of the lifters would not collapse on the passenger side, and because it didn't collapse on startup, or it wasn't collapsed all the way, when it came up and the pressure was already there, it pushed into the push rod and it bent the push rod. And it cracked the little the rocker arm. He had to go back in there, put 2 new rocker arms on that cylinder, and then he ended up putting 2 push rods in there and made sure the lifter was collapsed. So when he went to go fire it back up, but when you do that, you got to pull the whole damn manifold, the oil rail off and everything. He was like, oh my God, everything was perfect.
You ain't gotta tell me. Listen to this guy rolling down the street in my 6.0 blown heads needing a tow. This guy's trying to get it. Smart wife. I create files on my personal computer with pictures and notes. I got it.
Hey,
Seal
man.
all those leaks with new gaskets and TA31. Yeah. Eli? Yes.
I had one come in today. We were talking about it, importance of cleanliness and making sure you're doing your work real good. And it was a customer that I remember when he came in, he was fed up with the electronic issues of the radio not working and all this other thing. And he's like, I'm trading in this F-150, but I'm buying another F-150. And I was like, huh? So wait a second. You're talking bad about Ford, but then you're turning around, trading your truck in and buying another Ford. Okay, I get it. So what did you do to your truck that you're mad at Ford about? And they gave it to me and said, hey, somebody's already interested in buying this truck because it's really, really clean. And I tear into what this guy has been doing and I see, okay, there's a screw missing. There's a screw missing.
Nah, you don't need that. You don't need that.
There's a message on the radio face that says serious something antenna fault. I get the center stack tore apart and I'm looking down in there at this work this guy had been doing and he broke both the connectors off of the Sirius that goes into the ACM and the antenna that goes in there. And I was like, okay, so this all goes back to knowing what you're doing, feeling confident in what you're doing, cleanliness and quality of the work that you're putting into your vehicle. And if you don't know how to do those things, just take it to somebody that knows and you're going to save money in the long run. It took me literally an hour to figure out all these problems this guy was complaining about after he got rid of this truck and went back into debt again. All because it was a $40 little Sirius harness that needed to be replaced because he broke the connector off of it. And I made the antenna stay inside the audio control module where it wouldn't come back out because you'd have to run that wire all the way back out through there and stuff.
Mhm.
I asked the customer if he was okay with me doing that. And he was like, yeah. And I said, look, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little dab of 31 and put it on each corner, just a little dab. And you'll be able to go in there with a pick and I can break the seal again, but I'm going to put it in because I'm going to have to charge you for a whole cable and I'll get it to stay in there. I'll get your radio back online. And he was like, oh, that's cool. You know, you're not charging, but it all goes back down to the quality of what you're putting into your product, you know, what you're doing, taking pride in what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, bring it to us. We're going to work with you. We're not going to try to rob you and take all your money and stuff like that. Well, at least we're not. The people on this channel aren't. So, you know, it's interesting that we're talking about all this maintenance and paying attention to what you're doing and making sure you're putting in the extra effort to make sure the end product is done correctly, because people sometimes are their own worst enemy when it comes to bringing their vehicle to the dealer, and they've created a problem out of something that they thought they can do instead of just asking us or saying, look, can you guys just do this for me? And it would have been done and taken care of.
Wait till you guys see this video I just made. Rich is hitting the nail right on the head. I don't want to give too much away, but a gentleman decided to work on his own Super Duty and created a problem. So I'm making a video, not making, made highlighting specifically what he did, because it could easily be confused with technicians and obviously somebody not familiar with the truck, although he does drive it every day. So that might be something you might want to look. This is going to be pertaining to 17s to current model years. That's pretty much all I'm going to tell you. And then if you're working on the vehicle, you guys need to watch this video. Very important. Very important. Did you know Fred would get rewards if he got comebacks at the dealer he was at? Isn't that funny?
Is that because they could potentially find more work?
Last dealer I worked at, if you got a comeback, you got rewarded.
Rewarded with maybe not here. I mean, you get to come back here. You're taking care of it. I mean, the dealer will help you take care of the part, but you ain't getting rewarded.
Bill Beckett, I haven't talked to you in a minute, buddy. What up? What up? 3.5 water pumps, timing chains, tune-ups, man. Whew. Do a lot of those in the cop cars. A lot of those in the Explorers. Did my wife's show.
After you've done a few of them and you get some time under your belt doing them, they're not really hard anymore, but it's tedious work and it's clean. You have to be very clean when you do it.
I will agree. I can remember being nervous trying to do that, all cramped and doing with the silicone, and it's you do enough, you find out where how you have to hold it, and what I do as soon as I get it unpeeled from the engine, take the cover. I take the cover in and out like 4 or 5 times. Okay, I'm just gonna pretend. I'm gonna pretend I'm putting in. Okay, I'm not touching nothing. Not touching nothing. Go down, go down. Okay, got it on. Okay, let's take it back out. And I'm trying to get memory. I'm gonna put this thing in with silicone on it. I cannot touch the timing chain. I can't touch I cannot touch anything. Like you don't understand. Like I cannot touch anything. So like it's I don't even think about breathing. I think I hold my breath the whole time. um, but Rich knows, like, you got you're thinking ahead. You got your tool, your gun laid out. You got a couple bolts. Maybe got your light strategically placed. But it's like soon as you get that cover, boom, right on them two little dowels. Get you that top bolt, get you the bottom bolt. Because you're working through the wheel well. Either got your jack stand. I use a milk crate sometimes to lower the engine down just enough. You're just supporting the weight of it so you can raise the car up and down and let the engine stay so you can clean the bottom half, the top half, and you're working the engine and the car up and down. So yeah, those you're doing one of these.
Shelby said, how about the water pumps on the 3.5, 10 to 12 fusions? And the fusions, the MK, what are they? The MKZs,
The Zephyrs.
they are a lot of guys won't even do those in chassis anymore. They don't want to have to deal with the no space or any of that. Some guys swear up and down that they can do the cleanest job in chassis because they've done it so many times. But you'll find a lot of guys, they'll drop the whole cradle down because you've got this much room to work in and they won't even push it. They'll drop the cradle down and they'll do everything out of the vehicle right there in the open to make sure it's all perfect. And they are a pain to do. A lot of people think they're easy, and no, it's not. It's just like Shelby said, it's a 10 to 12 hour job easy. And if you go to an independent shop that hasn't done a lot of them, they might charge you up to 14 hours for that job just because it is a nightmare to do if you don't know what you're doing.
I can't say I've ever had to do one of those, but those things are tight.
I had there's a problem right now. I guess somebody accused me of making up my fix for this problem because they were new to my channel. But what a lot of people have to realize is if I say, just like you, if you say I've come up with this, or I realize this is how this is a problem that I've seen over and over again, you may literally have come up with seen this problem yourself. I did timing chains and tensioners and everything, phasers on a 3.5 EcoBoost F-150. And the job was perfect, clean. I did it in great time and stuff like that. I've been doing so many of them that I'm just like, man, that was awesome. I feel good about the job. Everything's great. Customer gets to drive in the vehicle and he's like, why is my coolant? I told you about this, I think, Aaron. It goes up to 221 and 227, and it's back down to then it goes down low enough where it's normal, and then it quits showing a reading, and then it goes back up, and then it's back down. I was like, what did I do? I don't understand what I did. I did everything perfectly. I bled the system correctly. I did all this stuff correctly. And I guess on the tech talk side of PTS, where guys can talk and stuff on the Ford forum or whatever it is that guys like to use, people have talked about this before. And there's actually some kind of service message or something out now that says the thermostat in these trucks, once you pull the front cover off and you pull that front coolant where the cover goes into the pass-through pipe and stuff, after the coolant's drained and that thermostat gets dry and it's a metal type housing, it can actually cause some issues when you go to put everything back together and fill the cooling system and stuff up, because when that thermostat goes to open again, because it's been dry for so long while you were doing the job and it doesn't have any lubrication anymore, that flange will kick sideways and it will grab that shaft and it'll try to stop itself from opening. Eventually it's almost in an overheating condition when it finally pushes through, and it will score up that shaft back and forth. Now Ford has an updated thermostat that's a plastic style instead of all metal, and it's supposed to be a more superior thermostat. And that was my problem the whole entire time. So when we're doing these timing jobs, these water pumps, pulling these front covers and stuff, it's not always clean cut and dry. You're not always going to be able every single time. It's just, oh man, that was awesome. I'm going to have no problems. I had to see this vehicle 2 more times, an hour, and then like an hour and a half again, when I finally realized what the problem was. There's an updated thermostat that goes in these trucks that we may not even know about. And I took a shot in the dark and I said, man, it seems like this is a thermostat problem. When I ordered the thermostat, I seen it was an updated part number. And then when the thermostat came in, I looked at the 2 of them and I'm like, wait a second. The old one, the original one was all metal. The new updated one has a plastic spring retainer on the bottom that slides back and forth. So it's not going to be binding into the shaft it rides back and forth on. It's things like this that you may not even see a service message. You may not see a bulletin. Or Cody, have you seen anything like that?
No, honestly, a lot of those parts just get updated and we never see it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it. I didn't have anybody tell me or help me. I kind of figured that out on my own. And there was a gentleman that popped up on my channel and he was like, oh, you're lying right now. You've seen that on the service messages, because they were talking about that in the Tech Talk forum and everything else. And I was like, brother, I never seen anybody talk about that. And I didn't see a service message about that. I found that out on my own by doing diagnostics and trying to figure out, wait a second, if the thermostat is just malfunctioning a little bit, it can cause this issue. I put a thermostat in it and I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's been updated. It's a newer, nicer thermostat, probably more efficient or something now. But now it has plastic, and we run into all kinds of hell sometimes when we're doing these jobs.
I mean, it's kind of like this. I mean, I didn't see nothing. I didn't even see the electronic service message for this, for when they went from 910s to 2114s.
Yeah, I didn't even know that either.
We don't
Like,
even
I asked Aaron about it and it was like, have you seen this before? And he's no. So I ended up going on the tech forum, and that's where I found the EFC forum. I'm like, oh, there's an EFC. And I didn't even see the EFC come out.
I had to call my parts department. I'm like, how do we have no 910s? He's like, oh, we're using 2114s now. I'm like, I took a 910 off and I'm looking at the 2114. I'm like, this thing isn't even the same size. What the hell is this?
It's way smaller.
You know, it really ticks me off. I just had it today. And man, it's like, what the hell what are these people thinking? Why would you, in your right mind, if you took a 820 size filter off of a Ford V10, V8, why would you put an FL500 back on? And please tell me it's not because all you had. That filter capacity, you just went down like half capacity. That truck's not supposed to take an FL500. That truck's supposed to take an FL820. But yet, these trucks still coming in from aftermarket oil change facilities getting the wrong filters installed. And
If it fits, it ships.
I just don't understand. What's this guy said here? 2007-3 owner here. He says, I never plug my truck in and have not had a problem. The other day, I plug her in for a few hours and notice a small drip of coolant runs from mine. He's from Minnesota. Any idea? Well,
the only thing I can think of where that coolant doesn't that heating element go in and hook, and it's like a freeze plug around it, or is that hooked?
No, it's threaded right into the oil cooler or oil filter housing of the 7.3s.
I'd be curious if the water pump is leaking.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's pretty common on the 7.3s.
FL1A now. Now you don't see FL1As now.
Jonathan, Ford Ranger, that the AC would quit running after 43 minutes. Yes, the customer timed it. Sure enough, I timed it, and it was within 20 seconds of the 43-minute mark. I had a vehicle like that as well. It was an Expedition, and the customer said I get about 45 minutes into my drive, and then all of a sudden the AC quits working. It just stops, and then all of a sudden 30 minutes later it starts working again. Then it stops 45 minutes later, and what it ended up being was the expansion valve was hanging up, and it would stay open when it was not supposed to, and it would end up freezing up. And when it would freeze up, it would take so long before it would thaw out and then start working again. I had to put a new expansion valve in it, and then all of a sudden the vehicle never did it again. And it took me hours of several days of trying to figure out what this was. And it was an expansion valve the entire time.
Wow, that was a good find. Tremor 22 asks a good question. I was just talking with Cody. Is there a right way to flush the power steering fluid on a 1567? Brother, just bear with me. Please be patient. It is, where is it? This is something I carry with me every day. You guys are getting a rare behind the scenes look. These are all my creations. These are all my ideas and stuff. I write them down every day. Anything that I want to think or remind myself, I just write it down. It's in here. It doesn't have a check mark yet, and it hasn't been crossed off, but I am going to be making one for the 17 through 19 guys and the 11 through 16 guys. I did do a video showing where to do it. I didn't show you guys how to do it, but I had to add a note, an idea for a video, because in that comment section, you guys pretty well said you wanted a video for it. So I need to get up on that. Maybe I need to reach out. Somebody's got an 11 through 16. If anybody is around the Metro Detroit area and wants a free complimentary power steering flush done by yours truly, I will use your truck to make a video for the community and get that up on the channel so that you all can take advantage of doing that, because I mean, it needs to be done. It's a fluid that is constantly being used for you guys that have the cab chassis. The power steering fluid's actually going to the Hydro Boost that is providing our brake assist. It's using our power steering fluid to do that. So it's actually doing two purposes. Working harder.
Frankie, do it.
Do it.
I'm thinking of going to UTI for Ford Fact. I have no experience at all. What do you all recommend? It was a huge eye opener for me. The Ford Fact class was better than anything that I had experienced with basic hands-on stuff, because they go from basics and they move you all the way up into programming, and I love that class.
Oh, two dog garage. Thank you, brother.
I would say I'd also say to Frankie, I would consider Asset over UTI.
Absolutely.
Just for future proofing yourself, but UTI is good to get you into the dealership.
New Ford Tech, newfordtech.com.
Well, they have more than one program. I think they have the basic program, and then I think, don't they have like the well, I might be getting international mixed up, because I didn't just take one class when I was there. I took automotive, I took diesel, I did their refrigeration.
Yeah, the only reason I say that is for the actual associate's degree, because UTI's associates is about worthless if you try to go somewhere else to get a bachelor's.
I know when I was done, even after all the damn schooling I did and all the certifications I left that school with, they said you'd still have to take like a 6-month program at DeVry or something to even get an associate's. And I was like, are you kidding me? They're like,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I got kind of bent over. So I get to restart from scratch.
But honestly, in our field, most guys that have been in your situation, my situation, Aaron's situation, and the guys that have been in for 30 plus years, when they talk about an associate's degree, they say, if you're stuck in this field and you know you want to be a tech and you don't want to move up higher into like hotline and corporate level stuff, an associate's never going to do anything for you, but it's nice to have when you need it.
Yep.
100. Two dog garage. This is a good one. Listen up. Looked at a 2020 today, 6.7, with an updated CCV box, and the tech claimed ice on warm up and warm up or lack thereof went through and ate the turbo, low compression on a cylinder, resulting in a new long block. See this before.
Yep.
I have not seen it, but have heard of it. And that, my friend, is not good. Updated CCV box. Okay, so like when you guys have the CCV boxes and we are taking real good.
What does that? What does that mean, Danny? Finally
Yeah.
got to the white trash section. What is that supposed to mean? Can
I
you
don't know.
clarify that?
We're not even going to worry about that no more.
Bye-bye.
Get he out of here. Hold on.
People, man.
Brandon, the water vapor or water that's in the CCV can freeze overnight, then get sucked into the turbocharger.
It condensates.
The condensation or water vapor, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Damages turbo, then turbo sends stuff through the engine, then
Danny says, let him explain. He wants to explain. That's kind of what I was getting at. I wanted him to explain what he was talking about.
He's here. He ain't blocked yet.
he's a
While we're
box.
waiting for yeah. Okay,
Bye.
yeah.
He
ya.
gotta go.
See ya, buddy. Like, really, dude?
Guys,
Okay.
we can't have that type of talk here, man, because that I mentioned something on one of my previous videos one time and it got demonetized and I got a strike against me because somebody reported it because I brought something up like that. Just don't do that stuff.
Not even not cool. This is for you, Ford Boss Me. This guy is one of my followers from Hawaii. He says aloha. He owns a 19250 with some transmission issues. He says the dealer changed out the torque converter and is still having issues. Do you know what they said was found with the torque converter? Didn't it I can't remember exactly what your concern was.
Well, there's multiple things that was going on with them. So
I think a noise or something.
We've had a few torque converter issues that you can tell were clearly torque converter issues, and a lot of people misconstrue torque converter issues with noises and things like that. Torque converter issues. I'm not a pro trans guy, but I've been doing a lot of trans drivability stuff lately, and like listening for sounds and digging into TSBs. And what they're finding now on like the 19, 20, 21, 22 is there's some shift concern issues where either it's a valve body issue. They're having us go through accelerated braking procedure where we're actually going through each section of like the clutch packs and making them actuate a certain way. And they said something specifically about a 4-3 downshift recently. And I just read this and I wanted to do a video on it. I have not done a video on it. I think if you go on, Cody may be more familiar with it or Aaron may have seen it recently. There's actually a SSM now that says
There is.
that 4-3 downshift is to be noted as no concern right now, but they are looking into it and engineering is going to have something available in the future for what this sound is, what this metallic-y type grinding sound from a 4-3 downshift. And some of these trucks, we are explicitly hearing this sound from this 4-3 type downshift, and they're now recognizing it and they're looking into it. I don't know if that's your problem or not, but there are things like this going on that is becoming more and more apparent that something has to be looked at here. Valve body issues, this noise concern, a little bit of shuddering coming from torque converter, but I don't see that so much as the noise and the weird shifts that come from the valve body issues.
I have had, yeah, you just said it right there. I think I've had, I've done two personally, people outside of work, people at work, people have heard on the in the community have replaced valve bodies, 11 through 19. Haven't had any 20 problems, but it seems like if you have a 6R140 and you have some weird 2-3 dudes pulling a camper trailer and says he's getting weird shifting issues, and he wound up putting a Ford OEM brand new valve body, new fluid, new filter, new gasket. We were able to use ForeScan to program the shift solenoid strategy ID into the PCM, into the TCM, and voila, everything was good. We had to do, maybe a 50-mile road test. I think thought it was before he started towing, and it was where it's at. So I don't know if a valve body is secure for everybody's, but it seems like if you have some type of, what Rich was talking about, like a shifting problem or flare type issue, I'd definitely be looking at a valve body issue for sure on them 6R140s. What I really need to do for a 10R140, I've been just like the power steering fluid. I need to take a week off, and I need to do all the videos you guys asked me to do because they're all really good ideas. I need to put something together for the 10R140. That's a big deal because people are starting to get the mileage on those things that are requiring the transmission fluid to be replaced. And a couple guys are asking, could they put a metal pan on it? I know Ford doesn't have one. We were also talking about today at work having upper oil pans. Everybody in the comment section, everybody, all 85 of you guys watching, if you're driving a Power Stroke right here, are you guys, is your upper oil pan leaking? It's okay. I'll wait. Oh,
have
one
you
guy
seen
left.
Have you seen this commenter before, the NC White Boy?
No.
I mean, do you have some kind of affinity against Ford or something like that, sir? Cummins is GOAT. Should have bought a Volvo. Is there something wrong here? Are you trolling? What's going on?
About to get voted. I want to know if Ford could redesign the upper oil pans that are for the 11 through 19s with a gasket type of a 20. Get away with the silicone, get away with the rubber pressed in gasket. No leaks. 17 here, not me.
Giovanni.
Not yet.
Giovanni Litterini, Ford boss. How do I get my mom to bring her Mustang for airbag recall? She won't believe me or Ford's letter. She thinks it's a scam. Well, put it like this.
I can't say I've ever heard that before.
This is how I want you to put it to her. Tell her, picture a metal canister that gas over time can become unstable. And if she ever did get into an accident with that thing and it goes to explode, send her this video. Link, know right now that we are how many minutes in? So find this spot and explain this, or let me explain this to her. When these things, the Takata airbags that are in these things, when they explode, the metal shards, they're saying, can come out in pieces. And
he said keyword, explode.
Yeah, and can come out in pieces, in chunks. And if you wait and keep waiting and keep waiting and keep waiting, Ford is very explicit about this. If you wait enough, they'll send you a letter with very graphic images on what can happen, and they will show you people getting penetrated in the face with metal shards. They want you to go in. It's a very quick procedure. We don't tear apart the vehicle all crazy and stuff like that. We've done enough.
Inpatient, outpatient surgery. It's no big deal.
Quick. Well, go ahead and update the airbag with the newer, safer design. We'll do the steering wheel. We'll do the passenger side. You're in and out. You go in, make sure the dealer has them in stock. If they don't have them in stock, they'll go ahead and get them coming for you. And then they'll schedule a later date for you to come in. You're maybe max 45 minutes to an hour. You even get a slow guy, maybe an hour and 15 minutes that's never done them before. You're good. Tell her to get in and get it done.
I mean, it's like driving with a hand grenade in front of you.
Yeah. There's a reason why
Very well
all
put.
these manufacturers were affected by this. It's not just a Ford thing. Tons of vehicles had to and still have to come in for these updates that were never done.
I personally don't want a hand grenade in front of me.
Old blue, right there. Old blue, right there. 83 F-150. No airbags.
Hey, there's
You're
none in my truck either. So
You're just gonna get a cookie cutter steering wheel that's thin as hell, right to the chest.
Shelby, it's really easy on yours, on your Fusion. It's
Oh
extremely.
yeah.
You're done in like by processing paperwork. If they can get you in right away with little to no wait, you're out in 20, 30 minutes. No problem at all. Done. If they're not busy. If they're busy, they may ask you to leave the vehicle. They'll get it done quick and they'll have it back for you by the end of the day typically. But normally we can get them in right away while we're doing other work, get them knocked out and get them right back to the customer.
No big deal whatsoever. No big deal whatsoever.
What does that mean, Peter? Ford boss, what did you think of Sean's skill level when you first met him? Was he good? Sean, what do you mean, Sean?
DS truck.
PPDS.
I know more than one Sean, and the Sean that went to another Ford dealer. So I'm not sure if that's somebody that put him onto the channel or if we're talking.
Oh,
about
maybe. Well, you don't spell DS truck's name like that, so maybe he's talking about somebody, the Sean, you know.
Sleepy D.
Sleepy D ain't sleeping right now.
You busy guy. I'm sure Meat Man Matt is too.
Meat man, Matt. Yeah. Let's see really quick here if we can double down.
Oh,
Explain the typewriter noise.
The UTI grad fact that you did a video with. Sean's pretty good. He's a very energetic guy. He likes to learn from people and stuff like that. He does not want to be stuck on the bottom. He wants to move up very quickly. And it was with young guys, that's a typical thing you have to explain to them. It's baby steps, man. It's not, you're not jumping into something and just moving right up through the ranks. You gotta move up and show yourself. And Sean, he was an energetic kid, very talkative kid, very nice. Seemed to be willing to work for with any tech, willing to learn. So if you're a friend of his or an employer looking to get some information on him because of a video, he's a great kid. He's just hungry. He wants to learn. That's all. He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. He's a good kid.
I mean, UTI's got me where I wanted to be. So.
Cody, what you were saying about the typewriter thing?
Where is it? It's now I can't find it.
Any knowledge of this accurate? This may explain the tinging pinging. That's always been. Are we talking about a 5-liter? Is that what you're talking about?
6.7.
Oh, 6.7.
Yeah.
6.7 does the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
It's really common after oil changes.
Yep.
And that usually shows up very well on videos. I've seen a bunch of videos of them.
CG. No more shadowing.
CP was not talking about like regretting going to Ford
no.
the program. What he was saying was what you can get out of an asset program versus going to a UTI program, because UTI is geared directly towards getting the technician, the technical side of things, getting them prepared to go right to the dealer, and then that's it. There's nothing left. What CP was saying is the asset programs gear you more towards not only learning in the technical side, you actually get a little bit more out of it when you get your associates and stuff, so it can apply to other things if other jobs are requiring it.
I don't regret going to UTI because it was free. I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked at the school, so I got to go for free.
'06 Explorer airbag recall. I've never done one on an older Explorer, so I would say that I have not seen that. I've seen it on the Rangers, the Mustangs, the Fusions, the Lincoln, like the MKZs, and then some of the newer Fusion stuff, but nothing on the older like Explorers and stuff. No.
No.
Good night,
Let's
Bill.
see here. Yeah, good night, Bill. Good night. Good night. Good night, John boy. I think that might be our cue. I got some more snow to clean. That's what them guys are doing out there. Our lost friends who are out working tonight, DS Trucks, reeling with Ryan. They're out there working their super duties. DS got the fleet, the 2 trucks he's working. Reelin's working the 11-250 with the 6.2, and they're out there working. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, making money, doing what Michigan super duties do, is get dirty. And
Brandon Power Stroke, 10R 140.
10R 40 what?
Anyone know how they're holding up with power? Right here, buddy. Right there. It's got plenty of it. And these when they first came out with the 10R 140s, then when they were doing their demonstrations and actually talking about the breakdown and the cutaways and stuff, a lot of guys that were initially starting to let's just use them as hobby trucks, they were making some really serious power with these things, and those 10R 140s were taking every bit of it.
I mean, the 140 stands for 1,400 Newton meters. So.
Yes, you can, Giovanni. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I appreciate all your guys' questions tonight. Great turnout. Appreciate all the likes and everybody interacting, as always. Think of some stuff you guys want the next live stream, if you've made it this far into this one. Maybe I'll bring these back, or maybe I'll keep these logbooks here, and we can maybe do like a story time and go through and maybe talk about some funny things that I had happen on some jobs. Starting off when 95 F-150s and Windstars, Rangers, Freestars were in my logbook. Those are no longer in the logbook. We have moved on to bigger and better things. So I apologize if I didn't get to any of your questions. We're constantly looking over to them. Appreciate Cody and Ford Boss Me coming through. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you. We'll see you.